In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. What I'm going to talk a little bit about in this video is the only word I can think of is concerning. Okay, I know that the uh, the thumbnail that I put up, it looks kind of funny, maybe a little bit of a joke. I think it's just most of you know I have a sarcastic sense of humor anyway, and sometimes I say things that are just I don't know why I even open my mouth sometimes. I think it's maybe my way of dealing with it, trying to make a little humor out of it. But it is very concerning, and so I want to Vinsplain. I'm not going to Popesplain. I've already done that. I'm going to Vinsplain this and just speak truth. That's what I've always been interested in is truth. And anytime that the viewers here have asked me to look into, a certain message from some seer or, um, you know, um, anything like that, I've always tried to give the truth, whether people wanted to hear it or not, whether they agreed with it or not. I just look at the facts, and always trying to, lean in the direction of wait for the magisterium. Okay, on those kinds of things, you always want to wait. You don't want to jump to conclusions. But I think this is very clear, and so that's why I wanted to talk about this, and that's why I put, I'm not Popesplaining. I'll Vinsplain what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm going to do here. So there have been a number of things that I've seen in recent weeks that I find extremely concerning. And I think what we're beginning to see is the beginning of the apostasy in the church. Okay, there was already a general apostasy globally where God is being rejected. People are living the way they want to live. There's no moral truth. We see things being introduced into schools and everything else that are absolutely demonic. But this is coming with the election of Pope Francis. There were a lot of voices that started screaming early on that they don't agree with them, that this is terrible, and how could this happen, and everything else. And so, I've said before, I've only lived through two popes, okay, but I don't remember ever seeing a pope attacked in the way that this pope has been attacked. Now, I'll be the first to say that there are some things that, Pope Francis could probably make a little bit more clear, when he says things off the cuff or this or that or the other. But in all fairness, and that's what I do here. I look at all different angles and go with the one that, falls in line with church teaching, church history, falls in line with obedience to the clergy. Okay, and I've always tried to look at things from I'm a critical thinker anyway, but I've always tried to look at things from every different perspective and really kind of listen to what people are saying in order to come to my conclusion. And so I want to talk a little bit about a number of different things, but I'm just going to kind of go through the list here and kind of explain what I'm seeing. Okay. So I don't think it's really a shock to anyone, or it shouldn't be. I think to most of the viewers that have been here for as long as they have, that we are living in the end times, okay? And there are a number of different things that the Lord told us to look for. All right. It's almost as if crazy stuff is out of just crazy stuff comes so fast that we like forget about the things that happened prior, like the earthquake in Libya, or the earthquake in Indonesia that caused the tsunami, the earthquake in Japan that caused that tsunami, the fires in Hawaii, all of these people with nowhere to live, missing kids, haven't heard a word about it. One of the things that I've come to understand recently and really kind of came to light, and I spoke a little bit about it in the video prior to the last one, was that there are masks falling off that I wasn't real sure that were there. I just kind of sensed it a little bit, but and the more I how do I say, got educated educated myself, the more I began to see it. Okay, so again, with this whole social media thing, I was really naive. I didn't understand. I didn't know what was going on in social media, even when I did, kind of the investigation into, what some of these kids are doing with social media. It's bad, 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 bad. I had no idea how bad it was. Call me naive, call me old, call me out of the loop, whatever it is. Okay, I had no idea, and I kind of wish I still didn't, because it's shocking, I guess. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Most of you here that watch this channel, most of you that are awake, know that much of the news that we are being fed in the United States concerning politics is propaganda. It's really just a lot of it is not true, or it has a twist on it that makes you somehow believe they're want to lean with their agenda. They go on emotions and things like that. We saw that with the pandemic. Okay, a lot of that. Russia disinformation. That's another one. But then when the truth comes out, no one's held accountable. Unfortunately, there are Catholic news agencies, prominent Catholic YouTubers and bloggers that are doing the exact same thing in regards to the Pope. Let me say that again so that it sinks in. The fake news concerning politics has an agenda behind it. And that agenda is a one world order, a new world order. There are news outlets that are Catholic and prominent YouTube Catholic personalities that are doing the exact same thing. They are giving partial truths, or they are twisting truths. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, again, I'm going to say it again. I was very naive to this until I started to look into it. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think I've even recorded this on video or spoke about it somewhere. When it was reported that Pope Francis has said that we don't need to breed like rabbits, that really hit me. It hurt my feelings. Now, I'm not one to really, how do I say, have my feelings hurt for too long. You know what I mean? I've kind of learned to, slough it off and move along. But to hear that from a pope, it really hurt my feelings. For the first time, and my bad, okay, I should have done this a lot sooner. I went and looked that video up, and I listened to what he said. And that's not what he said. And it's not the context in which he was speaking. Now, I will say, again, being naive, listening to some of these prominent YouTube personalities here and there, not all the time, I can only listen to it so much. I thought they could be trusted, and they can't. And I know they can't now because I've heard it over and over and over again. I've seen a number of different things. They twist things to promote an agenda. And I'm not going to mention any names. I don't think I need to. Okay, this prominent YouTuber went on national television with Glenn Beck and changed the words of an alleged apparition of Our Lady, in which he said that she said that there would be a bad synod. And the word bad does not exist. And that right there told me, that's when I said to you guys, the masks are starting to fall off. Well, if they fall off, you expose them. That's gaslighting. That's adding something in to a certain truth that kind of makes people perceive that the synod is bad. And in doing so, they align themselves with you and your view. And I've seen this happen a number of times. There's another Catholic news outlet, I think Michael Lofton spoke about this, that suppressed an interview in which a cardinal, top-ranking cardinal, did an interview and said that the Pope has no intention at all of changing church teaching on blessing same-sex marriages. And they sat on that interview, they covered it up, and they didn't air it for over a month, I think. And in the meantime, within that same time span, was still pushing the idea that are giving people the impression that Pope Francis was open to this, in which he's not. He's already said he's not. And so you have to wonder, it's an amazing thing because these same people talk about the fake news in the United States when it comes to politics, yet they're doing the exact same thing. Okay? And this is classic with narcissists. Narcissists will give you a half-truth, okay, and then throw in one word or two words to completely change the whole thing to subtly get you to agree with them. It's an amazing thing. These same people have said, or have, how would I say, kind of indicated that Pope Francis is a dictator pope. Yet, if these people were pope, the very first thing they would do is outlaw the Novus Ordo Mass. Now, you have to really think about what I'm saying here. Think about that. In other words, they would actually be the dictator. One of them went so far as to say, if a certain bishop is disciplined, that we, quote unquote, will resist you to your face. He was referring to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. He was referring to the Holy See. He was referring to Rome. We will resist you to your face. You have to listen. You have to really listen. Jesus told Faustina that in regards to her confessor, that she was to be obedient in all things. Jesus himself said in regards to the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, to the apostles, listen to what they say. In other words, be obedient, but do not follow their example. Okay? Let's add on the fact that private property was stolen and destroyed only for me, again, naive. I don't know why I do this. I trust people too easy. In looking into this and in studying this from someone who has learned in cultures and different religions, a priest, think Michael Lofton, again, it's so funny to hear this guy. Okay, he's a Reformed Protestant who came in and was radicalized, and then now he's Reformed radicalized. So he's walking in the middle of the boat. I don't know that he understands the times we're living in. I probably seem like a kook to him if he ever heard any of what I have to say. But it turns out that what was stolen and thrown into the river to these people was a depiction, their depiction, of Our Lady of the Amazon. And so it's like, I guess the point I'm trying to make here is one that I've made a number of different times. Stay in the middle of the boat. Because if I'm sensing this right, again, with all the signs that we see around us, knowing that the times that we are living in, and I can confidently say that now, for no other reason than I hear very let me not say renowned, I would say renowned young theologians, as well as scholars in the church and other priests in authority, saying the same thing that I said, and then me hearing them say the same thing when I didn't even know who these people were. Okay. It's very clear the times we're living in. We're moving towards the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. We know we're in the end times of the end of these times. Okay. Opening the door to something new. So with that being said, there are certain signs to look for. And one of those signs is apostasy. Again, we've already see the general apostasy in the world, the United States and the West basically officially rejecting God. The war in the Middle East, I've already said, is a sign. It is a massive sign. The Euphrates River. Okay, I think I mentioned this a while back in a number of videos. The Euphrates River is drying up. That's prophesied in the book of Revelation. And I've said before, we've seen the persecutions of the church. The church is undergoing a worse persecution now than it ever has. The natural phenomena and disasters that we see are increasing. I think it's very clear. So you have really three groups, I guess, within the church, even now. And again, I was naive to how radical these people are. I thought Rad Trad was just like a, kind of a nickname or something. But I'm beginning to see that there's something that is not good about this in any way, shape, or form. And that's not saying all Rad Trads are that radicalized. But when you have news agencies, Catholic news agencies, that suppress interviews, that would have cleared up a lot of confusion, sit on that interview and hide it, is telling. When you have people changing the words of Our Lady, of an alleged apparition, in order to gaslight people into believing somehow that the synod is bad, and that was spoken by the Blessed Virgin Mary when it was never said, is extremely telling. When you have people say, we will resist you to your face, they're calling for schism. Now, Padre Pio was wrongly accused, and he was obedient. The third group is the one in the middle of the boat, where I've asked you guys, I've said it 100 times now, stay in the middle of the boat. These are the ones that understand the times that we are living in, that have the ability to hear and discern falsehood from truth, that hear Our Lady calling us to prayer and peace, communion with each other and with God, that are staying faithful to Rome, whether they understand what the Pope is saying or not. And so in Chicago, when I mentioned a couple of things that the Pope had said, I can tell you this, there were a number of people there that had no idea that the Pope said these things. An elegant demon has entered the church. The transgender theory is demonic. In Fatima, he said, I come to you as bishop in white. The news, be very careful about some of these prominent news agencies and some of these prominent Catholics and what they're saying. These are the people that do not like the Novus Ordo Mass. They don't agree with Vatican II. I am absolutely convinced that they don't think Vatican II was a valid council. Okay? I don't think, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. I heard one of them, this was a while ago, and my jaw dropped. This person literally said out loud, I would rather die than attend a Novus Ordo Mass. And that's when the little red flag started to jump up. And so the more I looked into this, the more I began to see more red flags. The Novus Ordo Mass, the worst possible example that you could give of something going on in the new Mass, the rainbow flag and the balloons, and, it's a circus. That's not the norm, but that's what it's being presented as. And so there's an agenda. And the agenda is against Rome. The agenda is my way or the highway. And what is so disturbing about this is that these people actually think that they're fighting for the faith. Okay, and so the motivation and everything is good, but somewhere along the line, as they go through that process, it gets very, very twisted, and they somehow see themselves as heroes or I don't know, but it's concerning and it's disturbing. So that's my advice in this video. So is to stay in the middle of the boat. Don't listen to these far, far left people that, clergy or not, that want to try to introduce things into the church that would change church doctrine. That's not going to happen, okay? And if it ever did, okay, you can be assured of two things. First of all, it's not doctrine. Second of all, another pope will come along and change it and correct it. Okay, that's always happened. But to resist Rome, to resist the clergy, to not be obedient, is to do the exact same thing that Martin Luther did. It's to do the exact same thing in which people were called heretics at the end of it. And so obedience is key. Obedience. Humble obedience. The ones on the far, far right are becoming more radicalized. And like I say, when you have, well, let's take it like this. Let's do it like this. On the far left, they say, well, we're just trying to make everybody welcome. And then behind the scenes, they're blessing same-sex unions, like in Germany. Okay, clergy. On the far right, you have them say they're fighting for the faith, and Pope Francis said this and Pope Francis said that, yet these are the same ones that changed the words of Our Lady to give a different impression of what she actually said, that cover up and suppress interviews that were done with high-ranking cardinals to assure the faithful that they were not moving in that direction. And so you have to wonder why. Why would they do that? And then you have the ones in the middle, as I said, the ones that understand the times we're living in, the ones that hear the call of Medjugorje, which again, the first 7 apparitions have been approved by Rome. It's been declared a shrine. The Pope has let, now pilgrimages are perfectly free. They hear Our Lady's voice calling us to peace, to prayer, to fasting, to communion, to forgiveness for one another, to love, to God. The ones that understand the message of divine mercy and the urgency of it, and the ones that are familiar, may or may not be familiar with the writings of Luisa Picaretta, and understanding even from just how would I say, just a minimal understanding, can very clearly see that the writings of Luisa Picaretta are pointing the exact same direction as the message of divine mercy and the message of Fatima. Okay? And so it shouldn't surprise us that we have people in the church that want to do it harm. Unfortunately, for a lot of those people on the far left and the far right, they can't seem to look into the mirror and realize that it's them. In the name of defending the faith or the church being more welcoming, they want to change the church. And that's not to say that there aren't people within the hierarchy that want to do. They're loving this, you have, certain people standing around the Pope during his election, and people want to immediately connect the two. Or he says an elegant demon has entered the church, and then they want to connect the Pope to the demon. I recently heard someone say that, bring up the vision of, I think it was John Bosco, of the end times, And correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to leave a comment. Oh, yeah, give a thumbs up, too. I heard that that actually helps the algorithm and more people see the videos and things. Again, I don't profit from it. I make no money off this. This channel isn't monetized. It's just truth, okay? But understanding that vision is of the end times. And understanding the times, our understanding of the times in which we are living, the one that was leading the church, the one that was holding the boat stable and steering it in between these two columns of Mary and the Eucharist was the Pope. And so that's telling too. When you have people pop up on their little video screen, is Pope Francis really the Pope? Okay, it's immediate doubt. They're creating doubt in the minds of the faithful. And they're creating doubt and doing a lot of damage to people who are, as the apostle put it, who have been barely saved, who are new in their faith. They're doing a lot of damage. And they're causing schism. They're saying it's Pope Francis causing schism. But instead of being obedient, they could quell the thing immediately by being obedient, going into prayer. Because I've said we should never slander the Pope. We should never, I'm not saying not question the Pope. Sure, he said some things that I question. I don't understand. But you don't slander the Pope. You don't put it into the minds of the faithful. You don't lay a seed of doubt of whether or not he's the Pope. You don't lay a seed of doubt in the Holy Spirit protecting the church. And they're doing they're the ones causing schism. Okay? You don't call for the murder of Pope Francis. I don't care who you are. The lay faithful, priest, prophet, bishop, cardinal, that's not love. That's not what Jesus did. I haven't, one thing I will say about Pope Francis that is kind of telling to me is that I've never seen him or heard him, and I could be wrong, I've never seen or heard him outright defend himself from all these attacks. He's written statements to make things that he said more clear. But I have never seen him, say, how like stand up and defend himself in the same way that he's being attacked. I just see him, he keeps taking it and taking it and taking it and taking it. And so, like I say, this is causing a lot of confusion. But again, the masks are falling off. The masks are falling off. Yeah, that's the question I would add. It's the absolute number one question. Number two questions I would ask you. What kind of person claiming to defend the faith would suppress an interview with a cardinal in which the Pope was making himself very clear to clear up the confusion? What kind of person would change the words of Our Lady in order that people would view the synod as bad? And it doesn't matter whether or not you think the synod was good or the synod was bad or it was productive. There's all kinds of different opinions on it. But what kind of person would change the words of the Blessed Virgin Mary in order, for no other reason than to make people believe that it was bad? That's what you have to ask yourself. So how much character do these people really have? How much integrity do they actually have? And so the far left, I think, is just the far left, just as radical as the far right. That's what I'm waking up to. I mean, and maybe it's just me. I don't know. Like I say, I've been naive to a lot of this stuff, but the one thing that I will do until the day I die is defend Our Lady, especially with an alleged apparition and someone, a Catholic, is changing her words. I will defend that. I will stand up against it, and I will proclaim the truth. I will stand up for the church and the hierarchy of the church. And even if I disagree, okay, you have to stay obedient. Because even if we were wronged in some way, let's say, okay, obedience is grace. That is where grace comes in. That is where it's shown that you are a faithful Catholic. A true apostle of Jesus Christ is through obedience. Because in the end, God himself will vindicate you. You don't have to resist people to their face. You don't have to call on others to resist the Holy See or bishops or cardinals to their face. I've heard a number of different things from a number of different clergy that I absolutely disagree with. But I would never scream at them. I'd try to talk. I'd try to understand where they're coming from. If I disagreed with them, then you let it go. Obedience is the key. That's the key to the whole thing. Obedience. Okay? And the other thing I would say, again, I'm going to reiterate this. How can these people in the same breath call our media fake news or disinformation when they themselves have suppressed interviews that were given by cardinals that was done in order to reassure the faithful that Pope Francis in no way was going in the direction of blessing same-sex unions or changing church dogma? Why would they suppress that? And then on the other one, do basically the exact same thing that this disinformation and these fake news outlets do, and that's to give a partial truth mixed with a lie. To say Our Lady prophesied a bad synod is to do the exact same thing that the fake news is doing in this country. It's propaganda. And again, the height of hypocrisy. It's astounding to me. So be careful of what you listen to. Be careful of the voices you listen to. Do your own research. And I'm reiterating this because this to me is shocking. The more I think about this, the more shocking it is. Stay in the middle of the boat. Read the Diary of Faustina. Understand the times in which we are living. You won't be confused. Okay? Pray. Pray for the Pope. Pray for those on the far left and the far right. Okay? Because they are the ones causing schism. They're the ones calling for schism. That's what we will resist you to your face means. That's exactly what that means. So, maybe in the meantime, I don't know, look up the prophecy of the two camps. I think it was Anne Catherine Emmerich, Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, that said they saw the church break into two camps. That's what we're watching. And it's just another sign. It's just another sign to look for. And so, this is me Vinsplaining. Okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because I want my viewers, who I feel a sense of, a responsibility. I don't know how that I can't, with teaching and doing this channel, again, in obedience to my pastor, right? My old pastor, he's retired now. I have an obligation to tell you the truth. And so obedience is the key to everything. And we need to understand the times we're living in. We need to listen to the voices of reason, not get radicalized ourselves, and above all, stay humble, stay prayerful, and stay obedient. If we do those three things, we have nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing to worry about. So pray for the Pope, pray for the clergy, pray for all priests and bishops, especially the ones in error. Gosh, there's just so much to pray for. Pray for the world. Pray for a hastening of the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Pray for the Pope. Pray for one another. Don't give in to this confusion and what seems to me almost be turning into hatred. Okay? You remember what Jesus said? Many will fall into sin, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who perseveres to the end will be saved. The one who perseveres to the end will be left alive. The meek will inherit the earth. Stay humble, stay prayerful, stay obedient. May God bless you, may He keep you, may He cause His face to shine upon you, and may He grant you His peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.